Welcome to this episode of the Civil Engineering Podcast, the first podcast dedicated to helping civil engineering professionals succeed in work and in life. I'm your host, James Taylor, and in this episode of the Civil Engineering Podcast, I'll be going solo. That's right, it's just me, and I'm so excited to be talking about essential leadership strategies that will turn you into the ultimate engineering team powerhouse. Now, there's so many things to cover, but I want to hit on a few things that I think have made the biggest difference in my career. Sit back and enjoy as I share 5 key insights for civil engineering managers. Before we get started, here's a quick word from our sponsor for this episode, PPI, a Kaplan company.
PPI provides expert prep courses and study resources designed to help you pass the FE and PE exams the first time. PPI's live online courses include hours of lectures, problem-solving demonstrations, exam strategy sessions, office hours, and a passing guarantee. Check out PPI today at ppi2pass.com to see all the options available for FE and PE exam prep. Now let's dive into today's episode.
So let's start with the first important strategy, and that's becoming a master of communication. Did you know that communication challenges in civil engineering can account for up to 80% of the project delays and cost overruns? Yep, that's right, 80%, 80. It's an incredible stat when you think about it, that so much of that is contributed to communication. It's time for us to tackle these issues head on and elevate our leadership skills in this field. You see, effective communication has to be the cornerstone of great leadership. As a civil engineering manager, we must communicate clearly and concisely with our teams, clients, and stakeholders. There's so many people that we're talking to on a daily basis. This means not only sharing your vision, but also your expectations, and then also listening to others. This last piece is one of the biggest things for me that I need to continue to improve on day in and day out, and that's actively listening. A lot of times I try and fix the problem before fully hearing everything, and that's not what communication is. Communication is a two-way street. First, we need to be clear and concise. We need to avoid jargon and complex language. We have this technical background. We've learned all these terminologies or even things in our organizations where we use abbreviations. When we do that, it's not very clear to understand. When we make our message clear, it's able to be understood, and it's better when it's direct. When giving instructions or updates, we need to get straight to the point and avoid any confusion, not spinning in circles with language or kind of demonstrating clear, concise, direct. Active listening. All right, I mentioned this before. Active listening is just as important as speaking clearly. Paying attention to what others are saying, asking questions to clarify our points, and we also need to show empathy. All of these things show that we value the other person's input and fosters a collaborative environment. For me, this is probably one of my biggest areas that I continue to want to grow in. And what this is a lot of times in civil engineering, we're on a fast-paced schedule. We're trying to solve problems, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But what happens is a lot of times we're trying to solve the problem versus listening to the full problem first. So when someone comes in with something, we need to listen to the full problem, evaluate it, and then solve. So active listening is super important when it comes to communication. Another tip, provide constructive feedback. This is essential. When offering feedback, be specific about what was done well, what can be improved, and maybe things that they're just doing okay. Likewise, we as managers also need to be open to receiving feedback from our teams, as this creates a culture of continuous improvement. We all need to be growing. We all need to be doing the best that we can. And if it's just a one-way feedback loop, if it's one-way feedback, it's not a loop. We're not hearing, we're not growing together as a team. One of the other things is nonverbal communication. This plays a vital role in communication. So body language, eye contact, tone of voice are just as important as the words that you use. I think what happened with COVID and going home, working remotely, we lost a lot of that nonverbal communication where, hey, you're watching me or listening to me. All you're seeing is the language that I'm doing on the screen. You might not see my knee that's jumping up and down or the nervousness associated with that or whatever else might happen from sitting with someone in a room. So those things, it's even more important to be picking up on during conversations so you can use the nonverbal communication as clues. So these elements convey confidence, openness, and sincerity in the things that we're doing. So what is the nonverbal communication that we're putting out there? What's the nonverbal communication that we're receiving back? It's a two-way street with communication. So the more that we're able to identify those things and not just be on a screen, it helps with those some of those elements. I know for myself, a lot of times I want to, I'm picking up the phone or talking to someone or even someone that I might be working with. I might not turn my video camera on for whatever reason. Well, now all they're getting is the vocal. They might hear the tone, which is great, but they're not picking up on the body language, the eye contact, and those types of things. So it's tougher for the communication to go through. So the number one thing and the first thing is becoming a master of communication. Let's jump into number 2, the second thing, empower and delegate. That's right. Empowerment and delegation are essential for building a strong and capable team. As a leader, our role is to guide and support our team members, giving them the authority to take ownership of their own tasks. Another thing that need to continue to work on. A lot of times I feel like as engineers, we want to put things on ourselves. We need to break that mold and think about how can I help empower those around me to succeed. So let's jump into this one. Trust your team. Boy, that's a tough one. Trusting your team. There's two ways to build trust, right? Trust is given right off the bat, or people build the trust. You have to believe in their abilities and give them the space to demonstrate their skills. When team members feel trusted, they're more likely to take initiative and show creativity. So when you think about that, if you're able to give the people the trust and work with them to continue to build that trust, they're going to be more likely to really go out there and get it. We don't want it to be hand-holding. We don't want it to be dictative of this is the way I want you to do it. We might think we know best, but we know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. Just like whoever you're working with, it's the same exact thing. So building that trust with your team and believing in them will allow them, will empower them to continue to grow. All right, now the second thing, set clear expectations. Ensure that everyone understands their roles and responsibilities, whether it be a project, whether it be a presentation. This clarity helps prevent misunderstandings and ensures that everyone is aligned with the project goals. If you're not setting clear expectations, if you're doing a lot of here, do this task, here, do that task, you're pulling people in as needed, you're not really developing that clear expectation. You're not building that cohesive team that understands the project. Yes, there's emergencies where you need to bring people in, but that's where it's even more important to set those clear expectations. The next thing, we need to provide the necessary resources and support. Don't just say, here you go, it's now on you. No, we don't want to do that. We want to equip our team with the tools, the training, and the information they need to succeed. When we're available to offer guidance, that's a big part of this. So a lot of times, if we are thinking, hey, I'm just going to pass this off. No, you're not passing it off. You're there still for support. And we need to let our teams know that we're there to help. Be available to offer guidance when needed, but avoid micromanaging. No one likes a micromanager. No one likes to have their hands in every little thing, or have their boss or supervisor have their hand in every little thing. Avoid micromanagement. Be there for guidance, but trust them with the process. All right, next thing, recognize and reward efforts. When things go well, we need to acknowledge the team's hard work and celebrate their achievements. Recognition can boost morale, motivation, and encourage continued excellence. So a lot of times we are going through the process. We're working on a project. We get through that project. Are we recognizing our team? Are we recognizing our staff on the accomplishments that have come forth because of this project? Or do we roll right into the next project? We need to be taking a step back and celebrating the hard work. Some people might have worked nights. They might have been stressed out about what the outcome was going to be. Let's celebrate it when we can achieve something that's that great. So one book that's been extremely helpful for me as it pertains to delegation is Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus book. So in this book, he shows how we should be focusing on the things that are most important and are the things that only we can do, not something that it's just anyone can do. That's how we can make sure we're continuing not piling on work for ourselves, but work with our teams for growth. There's the 4 box a lot of people like using, and it kind of categorize the urgent on one axis and importance on the other axis, and how do you focus on the things that are urgent and important, or not urgent and important, are really where our focuses should be. And I've heard most recently things that we should be doing our best to schedule our time so they're actually focusing on the things that are not as urgent but are important and are the things that we can only do. So that's a great tool to utilize, that 4 box when it comes to delegation. Be thinking about how you can give up work, how you can empower your team. Like I said, it's not just saying, here you go, and signing it over. It's really about that empowerment of the people around you. All right, let's go on to number 3 of our 5 keys. And number 3 is be a problem solver. We're engineers. We're problem solvers. Industry challenges are inevitable. We're not going to get around it. A great leader approaches problems with a solution-oriented mindset. All right, so a couple pieces when it comes to being a good problem solver. Number 1, or we'll go with letter A because we're using numbers for the keys. We'll go with letter A. Stay calm under pressure. A lot of times when people get stressed, we want to overreact. We want to get things taken care of really quickly, and probably there's instances where we don't make the right decision. When we're faced with a problem, keep a level head and approach. We want to approach it methodically. Panicking can lead to poor decisions, so let's take a deep breath and assess the situation. So, all right, let's all do it together. We're going to take a quick pause. We're going to take a quick breath. All right, so now we're all less stressed. We're staying calm under pressure. The next thing, encourage creative thinking within your team. Foster an environment where team members feel comfortable proposing innovative solutions. Brainstorming sessions can often lead to unexpected and effective answers. If we're continuously just doing the things that we've always done, we're not opening ourselves up to growth. We're not opening ourselves up to innovation. There needs to be that creativity in the things that we do, in the people that we have working with us, to be able to continue to grow. You see, every person on your team is going to think about things differently because of the background that they have. That's great. Let's utilize that. Let's support that. And let's think about how we can find the solution to our problem based upon the different people that are looking at it. Another thing, let's analyze the root cause of the problem. When we understand the underlying issue before jumping to conclusions, it helps address the real problem rather than just treating the symptoms. We don't want to just go through and fix or put Band-Aids on things. We don't want to just keep going through and saying, hey, I got this. All right, let's Band-Aid it this way. No, let's dive in deeper. And some of that depends on the level of experience that you have, the level of supervisorship or management on a project you might have, is to take a step back and say, what is the root of this problem and how can I do a better job of serving this? Because if you're able to solve it then, you're not having to continue to solve that problem on the next project or even later on in the project that you're working on. The next thing when it comes to problem solving, develop and execute a plan of action. Once that solution has been identified, create a step-by-step plan to implement and monitor its effectiveness. Be prepared to make adjustments if needed. Problem solving. We all do it as engineers. That's what our job is to solve problems, whether it's getting sanitary sewer or water to a community that might not be served by it, building bridges to cross water, whatever that might be, we're solving a problem that exists. So take that step from the projects that we work on and apply it to the processes that we have. And now number 4 is going to be professional development and mentorship. Continuous learning and mentorship are the key to professional growth. As a leader, we need to be prioritizing our development and that development of our teams. You see, leaders are learners. If we're not continuously learning, we're not continuously growing, we're not going to continue to be leaders into the future. We need to commit to ongoing education. Stay up to date with the latest trends and advancements in civil engineering. How are you doing that? Attending workshops, seminars, conferences. Those are great ways to keep your knowledge current. Having lunch and learns with your teams, with your staff. That's a great way. Reading magazine articles on what people are doing, or just keeping up on projects as they're continuing to grow. Those are all ways that we continue to learn. And I want to encourage, it's not just the trends and advancements in civil engineering, but it's also the ways that we can best lead our teams. Looking at those soft skills in addition to the technical aspects will allow us to continue to build up the people around us. Act as a mentor to your team. Share your knowledge and experience, offering guidance and advice as how they can grow in their careers. Mentorship can be incredibly rewarding and beneficial for both parties. It's not just the mentor sharing with the mentee. A lot of times in mentorship, the mentee can teach the mentor some things or provide a different perspective on the things that they talk about. So a great way of doing that is mentoring. And then other piece is encouraging a culture of learning. Support training and development opportunities for your team. So when they come to you and say, hey, I really want to learn more about this, or I feel like I'm struggling in this area, are you taking that opportunity to say, that's great, like you're identifying the shortfall, let's find ways to get you support behind that. This could include attending courses, obtaining certifications, or participating in professional organizations. Now, the key to this, I would say one of the biggest things is encouraging those younger engineers to keep pursuing engineering and becoming a licensed professional engineer. That's going to be a key to their growth. But at the bottom line, we need to be working with each team member to create their own personal development plan. These plans should align with their career goals and outline the steps they need to take to achieve them. Regularly reviewing and updating these plans ensure that they stay on track. So each person is going to be different. Like, we can't treat every person, we can't treat every entry-level engineer that comes into the workforce exactly the same. Each person has different experience. Each person has different growths. Each different has different areas of interest. And so what we need to do is we need to work with each one of those individuals to allow them to grow and see how they can continue to grow into the future. And then do those check-ins. The goal setting is great. And I think, a lot of times we confuse goal setting with personal development plans. Personal development plans should really be looking at, where am I going to be long-term and how do I get there? The goals, I think, sometimes focus too much on key KPIs, key performance indicators, or other things like that versus really focusing on that personal development. All right, we're on to our last piece, and this is probably one of my favorite, and that is work-life harmony. Yes, I said work-life harmony. I hear a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and the one thing that I've learned is that work and life, while they can balance, it creates a misunderstanding of what really work-life should be. When you achieve a harmony between work and personal life, you're able to maintain overall well-being and productivity. So when I talk about harmony, I want you to think about your favorite song. You hear the melody that takes place in that song, but there's usually a harmony underneath of that with the chords that allow it to be this beautiful masterpiece. And that's where work and life, they're not in balance. They work together to create a healthy relationship. As a leader, you play a vital role in fostering a healthy work-life harmony for not just yourself, but your team. So, what are some ways that we can do that? One way is offering flexible working arrangements when possible. So, this could be flexible hours, working remote. These types of things can help team members manage their personal commitments more effectively. Another option, promote effective time management. Encourage your team to prioritize tasks and manage their time efficiently. This can reduce stress and increase productivity. And one of the things that I've always heard is we stretch our things out to the time that's allocated for them. So if you're able to balance your time management, if you're able to work with your time management and get that to, hey, I have 8 hours to work. That's it. I have 8 hours to work. You're going to manage your time more effectively because you can't spill over. Or let's say that I'm going to work 10 hours today. That's fine, but you need to figure out what those constraints are and work within them versus trying to continuously change what that is. I know for myself, this is one thing that I struggled with. And what I was doing was I was working, a normal day, going in a little bit early. I'd get home, I'd spend time with my family at night, and then when my toddler son would go to bed, I would grab the laptop and start working again, because I allowed myself to think that this was additional time that I had to work. Listen, if you work at night, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And there are many times that you have to do that. This past week, there were 3 nights where I had work commitments throughout the week. Like it happens. But for the most part, if you're able to take that time frame and you say, look, I can't work on this during this time. I don't have this time available to me. You're able to hone in those things and be more effective in what we do. So make sure that you're thinking about that and working with your teams on time management, so they're not working on weekends, working extra hours all the time. There is a time to work extra, but let's make sure that we're developing good habits in that. And that comes into the next piece, which is leading by example. If we're able to demonstrate a healthy work-life harmony, your team will see that you are managing your time correctly. You're managing your time well, taking breaks. They will be more likely to do so. I think one of the easiest breaks during the day to skip is lunch. You're at your desk, you're working. I'll just work through lunch. Go to the kitchen, heat up your lunch, or whatever it is, grab it out of the fridge, sit down at your desk and eat while you work. Take those breaks. I want to encourage you, take those breaks. A lot of times we think that we can continue to work, but we need those breaks in everything that we do so that we can continue to lead our teams and show them what a healthy work-life harmony looks like. And then we also want to support well-being. So we want to be able to provide resources to support for mental health and physical health. This includes wellness programs, access to counseling services, or simply promoting a positive and supportive workplace culture. For myself, another great thing is that wellness. And I'm thankful to be working for a company that has these wellness programs in place. And I think there's a lot of companies out there that are thinking more about health, especially as it pertains to mental health, as that's been more and more prevalent in the recent past. And there you have it. 5 key insights for becoming an effective civil engineering manager. Number 1, managing communication. Number 2, empowering your team. Number 3, being a problem solver. 4, prioritizing professional development. And 5, work-life harmony. By doing these things, you can lead by design and drive your team to success. Now remember, leadership is not just about managing tasks. It's not just about managing projects. It's about inspiring. It's about sharing that vision. It's about guiding them towards that goal. It's about going towards that shared achievement in what we're working on. I want to challenge you as we wrap this up to put these strategies into practice within your own teams. Please remember, you can find the show notes for this episode at civilengineeringpodcast.com. You will find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as links to any resources, websites, or books mentioned during the episode. Until next time, keep building and leading with excellence.